Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on how to maximize your Google Ad Grant in 5 easy steps with our special guest, Judson Aulie, Managing Director of Click Nonprofit. My name is Delaney. I'm the Director of Partnerships here at Nonprofit Hub and Do More Good. We're so glad that you're joining us today. We're going to wait a couple of minutes before we jump right in. So take a look at some of the announcements from us and say hello by dropping your name, your organization, and where you're tuning in from into the chat. We do have a small icebreaker to kick us off, and we want you to drop into the chat one word that comes to your mind when you think about Google Ad Grants. So if you're continuing to join us today, say hello, drop your name, your organization, where you're tuning in from, and then our icebreaker is one word that comes to your mind when you think about Google Ad Grants. We got some Arizona. I know Judson and I were just talking about how cold it's been. Judson, you said it's like -7.
It's cold in the Chicago area.
Yes. So we're jealous of everyone.
Staying warm inside with tea. So
yes, very nice. Let's see. Complicated. Lisa says complicated. Google Ad Grants. One word. Ellen says opportunity. I love it. Yum. Another complicated, complex, intimidating.
Oof. You've come to the right webinar.
Yes, underutilized. Daunting. A great resource. Curious.
There you go.
Let's see. If you guys are just starting to tune in, go ahead and introduce yourselves and then let us know one word that comes to your mind when you think about Google Ad Grants. Thought-provoking. We have another daunting. Overwhelming. Help. Deborah, we got you. Or Judson has you.
We'll take care of you.
Yeah. Okay, lots of complicated, lots of overwhelming. Well, I think it's true. You guys are definitely in the right place today. So you're in the right place. Before we jump into today's content, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. So the webinar is being recorded. You'll hear from us later today with that full recording, and then any other resources that Judson might mention today in his presentation. You're obviously encouraged to engage with us. Please use the chat and answer the poll questions. If you attend live for today's webinar, use the chat and answer the polls, you will be in the running to get a free copy of the newly released Do More Good book. If you missed the icebreaker, again, let us know one word that comes to your mind when you think about Google Ad Grants. Again, if you engage with us today, you could win your very own copy. It's not really coming into clarity, is it here?
Maybe you have it in case.
Your very own copy of the Do More Good book. Questions are welcomed, and there will be a live Q&A at the very end of the webinar. Our team is going to keep track of all of your questions that you have during it, and then we'll do our best to answer them all at the end. You'll even have the opportunity to join us on stage and ask Judson your question. Quick shout out to our platform partner, FireSpring. As a company, FireSpring works every day to create tools and resources that make fundraising easier and more effective, from websites to annual reports and messaging for campaigns at work. They have all the tools that you need to highlight your nonprofit and make you shine as a leader. Today's webinar session was made possible by Click Nonprofit, and we're grateful to learn from Judson today. Judson is the Managing Director of Click Nonprofit. He works with the team helping nonprofits expand their reach and impact through Google Ad Grant, content writing, and SEO. Click Nonprofit helps you acquire and manage the Google Ad Grant, as well as develop a content marketing strategy based on search engine and keyword research. If you noticed, there is a blog article on Nonprofit Hub that Judson has already helped us with, so go ahead and check that out if you're interested. I'll give away a little secret. We also use Click Nonprofit for our Google Ad Grant, and we love getting the monthly reports from Judson. We've learned a lot about the importance of content, and we always use the keywords that you guys suggest to build content because we know that that's what nonprofits need. So big game changer. Judson, we're super excited to have you today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes. Well, I guess we will get started whenever you're
All
ready.
right, let's jump in. Sounds great. Hey, well, hopefully, based off of your poll, hopefully this helps a lot of you with making it so that this Google Grant is not a daunting thing anymore. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we're going to jump into. I've got some slides here for us, and we'll work our way through these slides. And then I want to do a quick demo too of just kind of showing you a few things even on my screen beyond these slides. All right. I'll give it a few seconds. Usually, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for Demio to catch up with the slides. But basically today, as you know, we're going to be talking about how do you maximize this Google Ad Grant. That's a big challenge for a lot of nonprofits. And while this Google Ad Grant, it's amazing, right? You get $10,000 per month in free advertising. But the problem is that a lot of nonprofits are caught with only being able to maximize a small portion of that, right? Spend a small portion of that $10,000 each month. This is a constant thing that we hear from nonprofits. They'll reach out to the Click Nonprofit team and they'll say, I just, either I got the basics of Google Ads and I'm trying to do this and I can't maximize it, or someone on our team is trying to do it, or even another agency is managing these ads for them, and just they're not able to maximize it. They're not able to spend that full 10,000 and drive the right people to their website. And so hopefully you'll get from these 5 steps how to solve this problem. How do you actually maximize that spend? And even more important, once you're maximizing this 10,000 spend, making sure that you're bringing people to your website who are actually interested in an organization like yours, right? Interested in eventually becoming donors and volunteers and so on. So this is really, these 5 steps are what's going to get you to that point of really maximizing this grant. Now, before we dive into these 5 steps, I want to quickly go over, because some of you don't know exactly, what this Google Grant is, or how you even get the grant. So we're going to briefly talk over, what is the Google Grant and why you should use it, how to know if you're eligible for this Google Grant, and then number 3, how do you actually apply for it? So first off, what is it? It's a $10,000 per month grant, and it's specifically for Google Ads credits. So it's not a cash grant. You're not getting cash from Google. It's basically in-kind credits toward online advertising, specifically for Google search ads. And we'll dive into this as well. What specifically are Google search ads? And what I'm going to do here is I'm also going to set a little timer here just so I make sure I stay on track with time. But basically, what this is you've got $10,000 you have each month to spend, and with that you can attract thousands of new people onto your website each month with this grant, which is amazing. So if each click costs a couple of dollars, let's say it's $2 per click, basically every time someone clicks on one of those ads and they go to your website, if it's $2 per click and you're spending that full 10,000, then you're driving 5,000 people to your website every month. So it's pretty incredible how much traffic and how much valuable traffic you can bring to your website each month with this grant. And this is one client off to the right. You'll see that if depending on the competition for certain search terms, if you're spending closer to $1 per click, then you're bringing in potentially 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 people to your website. The other part is you can attract people who are actively searching for what you have to offer. So this is where Google Ads and the Google Grant really stand apart from things like Facebook ads and Twitter ads. I'm sure you see on social media constantly being bombarded with image ads or video ads. And those target you based off of your demographics, based off of your interests, things like that. Whereas the Google Ad Grant and Google Ads target people based off of what they're actively searching for in that very moment. So that's what's really cool about this, is that while there's benefit to that other side with, you know, Facebook and Twitter ads and things like that, the Google ads and the Google search ads for the Google grant is based off of what people are searching for. So it's ads that show up on the Google search. So you can see in this image to the right here, where if someone types in online volunteer opportunities, they would see an ad specific to that search at the very top of the Google search. So, you know, the Google ads, the Google search ads, these are all text-based ads that show on the Google search. And they're going to show up when people are actively looking for you. So that's one of the things that makes this such a valuable resource for nonprofits. Now, next is the Google grant eligibility. How do you know if you are eligible for this Google grant? And the way you do that is it's really a pretty simple process. You got to figure out, are you a 501c3 nonprofit? That's the big thing. And then the next thing would be, you want to make sure that you're not a government entity or organization. You're not a hospital or healthcare organization. You're not a school or academic institution or university. Now, some nonprofits can offer a few of these things. You know, they might offer academic resources. There might even be some kind of healthcare services that are provided within their organization. And sometimes those nonprofits will qualify. So it's not just black and white. There's kind of a gray area there in terms of, you know, if you do offer some of those things, would you qualify or not? That's something where, first of all, it's worth trying either way. It's worth trying to apply for that grant if you're unsure. And then also, if you were to reach out to someone like our team, we'd be happy to let you know whether you would actually qualify for that Google grant or not. The next thing is website security. You want to make sure that your website is secure with HTTPS. So basically, if you look at your URL at the top, you know, of your browser, the URL of your website, you want to make sure that it starts with HTTPS. So if it's missing the S and it just says HTTP, then your website is not secure and you would not qualify. So you want to make sure that you have that HTTPS, because that will basically, if someone donates on your website, if they give card information, this protects users' information. And then the next thing would be, and this is kind of a newer part where Google has been cracking down more on this, would be making sure you have a high quality website. And what that includes, a few things would be making sure your website loads fast. There's great resources out there like Google Page Speed Insights that shows you the speed that your website loads when someone pulls it up on a mobile or on a desktop. And we can send you that link after this presentation. You also want to make sure you have clear navigation. So when someone comes on your website, they have to know how to get to places on your website. You know, whether that's a contact page or a donate page, there's got to be clear navigation at the top. The other thing is clear call to action buttons or button. The less the better. So if you're wanting someone to do, you know, one thing when they get there, that might be donate, right? Or it might be, you know, signing up for something, signing up for an event, whatever that most important action you want people to take on your website, make sure that's super clear and it stands out more so than every other you know, button on the website. So what I would recommend is having something in the middle of your website. So when someone pulls up your homepage, there could be something right in the middle, or at the very least have something at the top right, you know, wherever you have your menu bars, but make sure that stands out over all of the others. So if you find out that, okay, it looks like I'm eligible to apply, the next step would be how to apply for this. And this is where a lot of nonprofits are scared of this process. And they're like, oh my goodness, I mean, I've applied for grants in the past. I've had to write, you know, a 5-page letter proposal, whatever it might be, to try to get this grant. It's different with the Google Ad Grant. With the Google Ad Grant, you don't have to worry about writing out a huge letter, waiting to see if Google is gonna, you know, give you the Google grant. If you're a 501c3 and you meet the criteria from the previous slide, you're most likely going to get that Google grant. And you don't have to write a long letter. It's literally 2 forms that you have to fill out. The first form is is signing up for Google for Nonprofits, and that's 5 minutes. And you can do that at google.com/nonprofits. And then once you fill out that form with just general info about your nonprofit, then you're going to get an email from TechSoup, most likely within a couple of days. And TechSoup is going to request that you send them your 501c3 determination letter by email. And that's going to tell them that you are, you are in fact someone working with your organization. And number two, you are your organization is a 501c3 nonprofit. Then after that, once you submit that, you should hear in a couple of days that you've been approved for Google for Nonprofits. Then you go into they would send you a link, you go into your Google for Nonprofits account, and then you would fill out a 10-minute form to sign up for the Google Ad Grant. That's it. And then in a couple of days, you get an email back saying, hopefully, that you've been approved for the Google grant. They would create a Google Ads account for you and send you the link to that account. So it's really quite simple. You don't need to have a professional, applying for this Google grant for you. And this is something that we offer for free to all of our clients, just because it's that easy to do. Now that you've applied for the grant, you have the grant. Now the big question is, how do you maximize the grant? And this is where it can be difficult for a lot of nonprofits to get to that point where they're spending that full $10,000, right? Even if they have that basic Google Ads training, this is the daunting part: is how do I actually, it's not just a grant where I get a cash grant and I can use it however I want. It's great. It's an in-kind credit toward Google search ads. So in order to spend that $10,000, you need to create enough ads. You need to create effective ads. You need to have the right content to direct people to really maximize that spend. So this is what we're going to dive into. These are those 5 steps on how to maximize the Google grant. And hopefully after this, you will feel a lot more confident in terms of, oh, okay, I can make this happen. I can, utilize as much of this grant as possible. What I first want to do is start with 3 of the 5 steps. And these 3 steps are really the most important steps in the process, I would say. And these are the steps that so many nonprofits miss. And I think really at Click Nonprofit, what we believe is that this really is the reason that nonprofits are not able to maximize the grant. And so first off, it's so important that you start with keyword research. You want to figure out what people are actually searching for on Google before creating ads. Now, if this term confuses you, keyword research, what is a keyword? We're going to dive into that in the next slide, so don't worry about that. Next, after you do the keyword research, the next point that we're going to be going over is creating search-focused content. Content is so key in this whole process, having valuable content that's focused on the search engine. So you want to create blog posts or landing pages based off of highly searched keywords related to your nonprofit. Next is you want to create a clear call to action. So you want to encourage website visitors to take the next step towards your ultimate goal. So, it might be donations, it might be volunteering, but you want to get them to take that next step toward that. So that might be to offer downloadable content in exchange for an email. We're going to dive into each of these in the next slides. So starting with keyword research, this is so important. This is what so many nonprofits miss, is starting here, figuring out what people are actually searching for on Google. So what are keywords? Keywords are the words or search terms people type into a search engine like Google to find what they're looking for. So a keyword, or another word for it would be, a search term, is what people are actually looking for on Google when they want a question answered or they're looking for something. Now, what you want to do is you want to find out, what keywords are people typing into Google. And the way you do this is you use a free keyword research tool. And there's tons of research tools out there. Some of them are free. There's even there's a free keyword research tool that works really well within your Google Ads account. So that's already given to you. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can actually use that. But this is what you want to start with, is this keyword research. And in this process, there's 3 steps to keyword research. There's 3 things that you want to figure out. One is you want to find out what keywords people are searching for on Google that are related with your nonprofit. So it's so important because you want to figure out, okay, my nonprofit is about this subject, then you should be looking for search terms with, along the lines of that subject. We'll dive into this in a little bit. And then you want to look at number 2 is how many times a single keyword is searched for in a month. So next you want to figure out what's the search volume like? How many people are even searching for this per month? You don't want to be trying to find a keyword that one person is searching for each month. That would be pointless. Hopefully you're finding something that has hundreds of searches or thousands of searches. And then the third thing is you want to make sure that keyword is lower in competition. So how competitive is a keyword? In other words, how many businesses are bidding on that same keyword? So, if a keyword is really competitive, that means there's a lot of businesses or a lot of nonprofits that are bidding with their Google ads, with the Google AdGrant account on that keyword. They want their ads to show up on Google when someone searches for that keyword. So ideally, you find a keyword that there's not a lot of people bidding on. And we'll jump into this in a little bit. Next, after you do that keyword research and you find that keyword, you want to create search-focused content. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what search-focused content is. First of all, it is not blog posts that just focus on your nonprofit's impact or stories from your recent events. These are important. These are really important. There's a lot of nonprofits that we run into that, yes, they have a blog, which is a great start, but their blogs are just talking about like a previous event they had, a fundraising event they had, or it's talking about the impact, stories of impact. These are extremely important things because it's great for current donors or people who are very close to being donors to get more insights into your nonprofit and what you're actually doing. But that's not great for getting new people to your website. So what you want to do, and what search-focused content is it starts with keywords. So it's blog posts based off of highly searched keywords related to your nonprofit's mission, services, etc. So you want to find the keyword first, and then you want to create that blog post around that keyword or around that search term. So you want to start with choosing your keyword. So find a keyword that has a high search volume, low competition, and is highly relevant to your mission or organization. So an example of this would be, let's say there's an adoption organization. Adoption organization, if they might be just thinking, oh, we want people to find us when they type in adoption agencies or adoption organizations. Great. Most likely that keyword is really competitive, right? Most likely like every adoption organization is bidding on that keyword. So it's going to be hard to show up at the top of Google for that. It's also going to be hard to show up even without ads at the top of Google, right? Organically. So this is where they might choose how to adopt a child as a keyword or as a search term. And then the next step would be to create a blog post. So they would want to create a blog post, or you want to create a blog post that focuses on your chosen keyword. So what you want to do is put yourself in your searcher's shoes when you do this. When you create this blog post, you don't want it to just be all about promoting your nonprofit like crazy. What you want to do is you want to provide valuable information to that person who is searching for this specific keyword. So let's say if it's in the case of this, how to adopt a child, if someone's searching for that, they probably want to know what are all the steps. I mean, it's a complicated process, right? So in that blog post, they might be letting them know, you need to get a background check, you need to do this and that. And they might have, 5, 10 steps, maybe is the name of the blog, 5 or, you might say 10 steps to how to adopt a child. Just making sure that you give valuable information to them. And you want to follow SEO best practices. SEO stands for search engine optimization. In other words, you want to make sure that your blog post is optimized for the search engine. It's not a complicated process. And we'll send you a resource on this on how to make sure that your content on your website and on your blog posts are optimized for search engines so that it actually can show at the top of Google, hopefully. But basically, you want to make sure that your keyword shows up multiple times within that. You want to make sure that it's user friendly, right? You don't have super long paragraphs in your blog post. You want to make sure it's concise. Basically, make it so it's easy enough for a fifth grader to read, right? Next up is you want to create a clear call to action. So after you've done the keyword research, you found your keyword, and then you wrote a blog post about that keyword, then you want to make sure there's a next step, because it's great that you got someone to your website, but of course your ultimate goal is to get donations, right? Or to get volunteers, or whatever that ultimate goal is. You want to push people little steps, taking little baby steps at a time to the point where they get to that goal. So call to action to be something that's relevant and easy. Ideally, you're not going to have a big button at the bottom of that blog post that says donate. If you did, it should be very specific to that topic. But basically, you want to make sure your ultimate goal. So let's say your ultimate goal is donations, but most people won't donate right away. Okay, so if someone doesn't know your organization well, they just found you on Google, they need to get to know you, right? So you want to focus on small, easy steps that are relevant to the visitor's goals. And a great way to do that would be by creating lead generating content downloads. So giving them something for free, ideally in exchange for, let's say, an email. And then that's a great way to get someone to give an email so that you can get in contact with them afterward. And that content download, that lead generating form, should be on the same topic as that blog post and on the same topic as that keyword. So we want to keep everything very focused on one topic, because someone searched for that keyword, they just want information about what they searched for, right? So you give that in the blog form, and then you offer a little bit more along that same topic in a download. And then basically you collect those emails and you then nurture that lead through email marketing to the point where hopefully they become a donor or a volunteer or whatever that ultimate goal is later on. So what I want to do is I want to jump out of these slides really quick to show you a demo to so you really understand how to do this keyword research, and then how to do that, search focused content, what that should look like. And also making sure that you have a clear call to action so you can actually get conversions from that. So I'm going to hop back here and we'll pull this up. And this is, I'm going to show you two examples of organizations that we helped with this, keyword research and with the Google Ad Grant. But basically showing you how you start with number one, keyword research, and then following it by those other steps. So first of all, this is one example of a youth ministry organization. This is an organization that basically they served youth pastors, so at churches around the US. And what they did is they basically sold curriculum and mission trips to these organizations, to these churches. And so basically what we did is we said, hey, from our research, we found out that there's a lot of people searching for, youth ministry lessons or youth object lessons. But I want to kind of show you how you go about doing that. So, if someone types in, let's say, youth object lessons into Google for an organization like this, this is the blog post that they created based off of these recommendations. And I'm going to show you how to actually go about doing that research, how they came about. Hey, we want to create a blog post for youth object lessons, for youth ministry lessons, so that we show up at the top of Google for that search phrase. So basically, the first thing that you want to do is you want to start with one of your free keyword research tools, and you have a tool within your Google Ads account. And basically all you do is you go to tools and settings, and then you're going to go to measurement here. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, planning here, and then you're going to click into keyword planner, and that's going to take you to this page right here where you can actually figure out what are people searching for on Google. So what I would recommend for this organization, they're a youth ministry organization. So I would recommend start with the broadest keywords possible. What is your nonprofit all about? So in this case, for this organization, they're all about youth ministry. So they should plug in, youth ministry up into here. And if there's a few other things, they know they offer curriculum, so they could say youth ministry curriculum. Just, you can enter a few things here, and then when you hit get results, basically you'll come down here and you can see the keyword that was that you plugged in. You can see the average monthly search volume, and then you can also see there's other data like what's been the change over the past month, over the past year. And then you can see the competition for those keywords. So you can see for the Google Keyword Planner, they have low competition, they have medium competition, and high competition. So what do we want to do? We want to find low competition for these keywords ideally. So I would say medium to low would be ideal. And then what you do is, if you scroll down, the really cool thing about this is that you start with those broad keywords, right? What is your organization about? Then if you scroll down, Google will actually give you related keywords underneath that, and it'll show the search volumes for that. So it's a really powerful tool, and it's a great way to figure out what are people searching for that's related to my organization, and how many people are searching for that, and then what's the competition like? Is it low competition? If there's low competition, then if there's low competition, there's high search volume, and it's it's very related to your organization, then it's a great thing for you to create content off of. So that's one tool. The other tool is Uber Suggest. The reason I bring this up is that this is free to use. It's a freemium software, so you can have a certain amount of searches that you do each day, which might be enough on that free version, and then you can pay if you wanted to have more than that. But basically with this, the nice thing about this tool is it gives you two things that the Google Keyword Planner does not. The Google Keyword Planner focuses on just paid difficulty. This gives you both paid difficulty and SEO difficulty, which means organic. So you can see for any given keyword, you can see how difficult is this keyword to rank in terms of the Google grant. And then how difficult is it to rank just organically on Google search without using any ads. And on this scale, it's from 1 to 100. 1 is the easiest to rank, 100 is the most difficult. But the cool thing about this is that you plug in a broad keyword, you scroll down, you can see all the related ideas. And then if you clicked on one of these ideas, it would take you to another page. It's kind of like a rabbit trail where you click on one and it'll show you related keywords to that one that you just clicked on. So it's a great way to kind of look through, and you can figure out, okay, what are keywords that are even more specific that you could possibly look at, and with lower competition. So that's how you do that research. And that's how we help this organization basically come up with a blog post that they could create on this youth ministry lessons or youth object lessons. And this is a great example of where, when they had created this blog post did extremely well. So it ended up getting, at one point, it was getting 4 times the amount of traffic than the whole homepage on their website was getting. And so that's a great example of, if you do that keyword research, you find a blog, you find a topic that people are actually interested in, you create valuable content for it. It will work well for the Google grant. It'll help you maximize that 10,000 spend because people are actually searching for that. And it'll also help you rank organically. So for this organization, I'm going to show you this blog post in a bit. But for this organization, basically, we started with the Google grant. We were able to get it to the top of Google with the Google grant. And then after some time, it started doing really well organically. And so we were able to take the Google Ad Grant ads away from that post and promote something else on the website, because the post ended up doing well organically. So you see there's no ads here. This is just showing up without ads at the top of Google. So it'll be the gift that keeps on giving. If you create valuable content, you'll maximize the grant, you'll also get organic traffic. So this shows the content. They created content specific to youth ministry lessons, youth object lessons. And what they did is they literally just gave away free lessons. So, youth leaders are typing in youth object lessons, and they're looking for, possibly free lessons that they can get. And this literally gives it, free lessons in the blog post. And they did a great job of showing, making it super easy to read. There's lots of subheaders, there's lots of bullet points. This is the kind of thing that we would recommend. And then after that, what they did is they offered a free resource at the end, so a downloadable resource. And for them, basically this resource, you'll see you click the resource and it takes you here to download it by giving your first name and your email. That's all they asked. And then they were able to get people into here to eventually get to the point down the road where for LeaderTreks, they wanted people to buy their youth ministry curriculum. So this is a great way to bring someone in to eventually get to the point where they reach your ultimate goal, right? And the important thing about this is that it's on the same subject as what the blog post was on. I'm going to give you one more example. This one's going to be much faster since you hopefully are kind of starting to grasp that concept. But this is another organization that we helped with coming up with something that people are actually searching for. So this organization, Fleece and Thank You, they provide fleece blankets for kids that are in hospitals. And so it's basically, they're trying to find, two different audiences: people who are interested in helping kids, right? Helping kids that are lonely, helping kids that are sick. Then the other audience would be, hey, finding people who are interested in making fleece blankets. So what we recommended is, hey, there's so many people searching. You can see that here. There's so many people searching for how to make a fleece blanket. Why don't we create a blog post on that topic, show them exactly how to create it, and then you can promote your blanket making kit after that. So that's what they did. They created this blog post, and then if you come over to, you actually click on that blog post, it just gives people exactly what they asked for, right? Someone asked for how to make a fleece blanket, and they gave that to them. And then what they had is for their call to action, or for, a link to their, would be a link to their blanket making kit. So if this was genius, I think, of them, is basically adding it into the equipment that you need to make a fleece blanket. So you need fabric scissors, and then you need a Fleece and Thank You blanket kit, of course. So you click over to here and you can purchase their blanket making kit. And what this is they send you all the supplies, you make that kit, and then it's sent to a child in a hospital with a letter and everything. And really, really cool organization. And you can see, all the details about, how you purchasing this, how it impacts the whole process. So those are two examples. Hopefully that helps you understand how to actually go about doing these three steps. So you start with that keyword research, you create search focused content, and then you create a clear call to action. And then after you've figured out how to do those three steps, I mean, what I would recommend is keep doing that, right? Keep creating that valuable content, repeat that process, because as you build out more valuable content, you're going to maximize that Google ad grant more and more, because there's more pages that you can drive people to, and there's actually people searching for that topic. Then the other thing that's beneficial to that is that you're not only maximizing your Google grant, but you're actually showing up on Google organically, right? So you're developing your overall search presence, which is so valuable. Now the final two steps, and these we'll talk through. These are a lot faster. Basically, we're going to talk through. You want to make sure that you have conversion tracking set up, and what I would recommend is using Google Analytics. Once you have people coming to your website and they see that, that call to action, you want to make sure that you set up this conversion tracking so you can track, how many people are staying engaged on your website, how many pages are they viewing on your website, how many people are downloading that free resource on your website, and potentially down the road or right off the bat, how many people are actually donating or signing up to volunteer and things like that. So there's a ton of resources out there in Google Analytics. We're not going to be diving into how to use Google Analytics because that requires a whole course for you to do that. But we're going to send links to Google Analytics basics courses along with Google Ads basic courses, just so you know the basics of setting up these analytics accounts and those basic ads. Next is you want to make adjustments as needed. So once you set up these goals in Google Analytics, once you start tracking everything in Google Analytics, that'll allow you to make changes. It's going to help your performance even more. So you'll make adjustments in order to actually hopefully get more people to download a resource and you're getting their email, right? There's all these adjustments you can make based off of the performance if you track it. Next is regular optimization, and this is the last step. This is something where it's so important for you to regularly optimize your Google Ads account. You can't just create the ads and then just let them run. You need to be constantly optimizing those ads. So you want to regularly check your ad account to keep it compliant. This is the first thing. This is a big part of the Google Ad Grant, is you want to make sure that you keep it compliant with its compliance policies. So there's dozens of compliance policies that go along with the Google Grant. And you want to make sure that you keep those lined up, because I'm sure there's a lot of you, when you look at it and you think, oh man, this is daunting. One of those aspects might be, how do I keep my Google Grant from not getting deactivated? Because there are these rules that you have to follow to keep activated. If it's not a complicated thing, as long as you understand what those compliance rules are. And again, we're going to send you a link to those so you know what are those compliance rules. You'll be fine. It's just the important part is you want to check back and make sure each month you're looking at your account so that you keep those ads compliant. Then the next part is you want to test ad copy and keywords to get better clicks, click-through rate, and conversion rates. So what you should be doing constantly is, in order to increase that spend and keep that spend up, closer to that 10,000 amount, and make sure that you're getting enough people on your website with that spend and the right people, you want to be making adjustments to your ads and to your keywords. So you might be changing the wording in those text ads to get more people to click. You might realize that, the people who are searching for this keyword, they drop off and they come to our website and then they leave, right? You can see that in your Google Analytics. That's where you want to make sure you're constantly tweaking those keywords and those ads to really get the best clicks, the best click-through rate, and the best conversions. So those are the 5 steps, and I hope that's really helpful. What we really want to focus on are those 3 steps, are the ones that so many nonprofits are missing. So getting those 3 steps down first are, I would say, are the ones you really want to make sure you focus on. It's all about having valuable content on your website. You want valuable content that answers the questions that people are searching for online. And that's where you're going to become, as a nonprofit, you'll become a thought leader in that space. And if you help someone, they're going to be much more interested in your nonprofit and learning more. Really quick, I want to talk through, we're going to be sending information on this, on this webinar. We want to send, Nonprofit Hub is going to be sending you a link to the slides so that you have those handy. The Click Nonprofit team would also love to send you more information in terms of special links to figure out if you're actually, eligible for this Google Grant, free Google Ads training and Google Analytics training, SEO best practices for blogging, links to keyword research tools, lists of compliance rules, and a lot more. So we'd love to send you more of this information. So if you opted in to get emails from Click Nonprofit, we're going to be sending you that information. There's also a place on our website that you can, if you haven't opted in, I'll send you this link so that you can get these resources from us. The other thing we'd love to offer is 15% off of the first 3 months of any Click Nonprofit management plan. So, you know, if you decide, hey, you know, we don't want to spend the time doing this, I recommend go for it. Try doing this, because if you follow these steps, you probably don't need us. I probably shouldn't be saying that, but the reality is, if you follow these steps and you really understand the keyword research aspect, you really understand how to create valuable content. That's the key part, is having that content. If you do these things, you really should be able to maximize that grant and bring valuable people to your website. So if you want these resources from us, if you haven't already opted in, you can let us know. You can go to clicknonprofit.com/contact and let us know you were in this webinar and that you'd love to get some of these resources from us, and we would love to send that. So I will pass this back off, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judson. We added the handouts. We added the slides to the handout. So if you want to download those now, you can do that, but we'll also include them in the follow-up email. And then all of the things that Judson just said, we'll try to include those as well. So anyone who registered should have access to a couple of those resources. Judson, I don't know if you could see the poll or if anyone else could see the results of the poll, but the first question was, how familiar are you with Google Ad Grants? 71% of people attending today weren't familiar at all.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Then we just asked another question about how they feel now, and a lot more people are saying they feel a little bit more informed, maybe a little bit wanting to learn some more. So let's go through the questions. There are quite a few.
Okay.
So we'll get started. I don't know if we'll make it through all of them, but let's see. So moving towards the beginning of your presentation, are Google Ad Grants available across the country? Are they available to any nonprofit in Canada, UK? Is it just United States, or is it any?
That's a great question. Yes, so definitely across the US. And there's actually, they keep expanding this to other countries, but yes to Canada. And there's a whole list, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because we should send that resource too. I'm going to make a note of that. But there is a list of countries that are eligible for the Google Ad Grant, and we'll send that over to you.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
You mentioned a little bit about who is eligible. Lisa wanted to know, as a public library, as a city municipality, if they are eligible.
Oof, that's a good question. As a public, so unfortunately, as a public library, that would be governmental. Most likely that would not be eligible. Sometimes there's ways to get around this if you end up, if there's some kind of a foundation. So sometimes, for example, with a school, if a university isn't eligible, they could create a foundation. And as long as that foundation doesn't go toward, that tuition or whatever it might be, that foundation could be eligible for the Google grant. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Shelby had a really good question, and I've heard this before in the past, but what are the requirements regarding how to receive and use donations obtained from the grant?
How to use the donations obtained from the grant? Yeah, so basically what you need to make sure of with the Google grant is when you receive those donations are just for your nonprofit. So they're just for your 501c3 nonprofit. That is kind of that one criteria, is you need to make sure that it's for your nonprofit. Sometimes there might be an event that you promote, with the Google grant. That's fine to promote an event where you are receiving income from that event, as long as the income from that event is only going toward your 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay. And I think that's more of the question that I've heard before is, are there restrictions on what you can use the grant for? Like, does it have to be to attract donations? Can it be, like you said, to promote an event? Can it be to get people to sign up for your programming?
Definitely. Yeah. So it doesn't just have to be for donations. It can be for anything that supports your nonprofit, basically. So it can be for an event. It can be, you can sell products. That's what a lot of nonprofits are thinking. Oh, can we not actually sell products? You can absolutely sell products. So yeah, as long as it's benefiting your nonprofit in the end, then you can do that. And that's something we actually recommend, is, like we mentioned in this webinar, not a whole lot of people, if they don't know your organization well, they probably won't want to donate right off the bat. So that's why it's great to use this Google grant for those baby steps before that, right? So maybe you get someone to buy a product and they get to know you better, or whatever that might be. So,
okay. There was an initial question about, does it cost anything to get the Google ad grant? And I'm pretty sure that we answered that person no. But in terms of, are there any downsides? And I guess, Marianne, to the point of your question, Judson, in your experience, how much time does it take someone to effectively manage their Google ad grant?
Yeah. So if you're really wanting to maximize that 10,000 spend, right, and actually get conversions out of it, and actually getting the right people to your website that are going to convert and eventually become donors, what we recommend is spending between 5 and 10 hours a month. That would be a good amount of time to spend on your ads, to really ensure that you're getting the best value out of that.
Okay. Mary Beth had a unique situation. It sounds like, and Mary Beth, I might get this wrong, but it sounds like they hired an agency to help them with their Google ad grant. And then the agency kind of disappeared and they are no longer helping. How, do you have any recommendations for her on how they can pick that back up and keep it going?
Yeah. So, if hopefully they have access to that Google ad grants account, I'm assuming that's not the issue. If that is an issue, then, well, first they should ask that agency. And if that's not an option, they can always reach out to the ad grants team. But yes, they can absolutely pick that back up. If they want, if there's ads in their account right now that they can optimize, great. But I would say if they pick those ads back up, what I would do, if you don't have experience with Google ads, then the basics of Google ads is not something for this webinar. But what I would say is just take a basic course on Google ads first. Take that and then apply these principles from this webinar. Because even with that basic knowledge of creating ads, if you really want it to be effective, you want to focus on creating valuable content, right? And starting with keywords, figure out what are people searching for in Google. Yeah.
Okay. Shelby had another good question here. If she focuses an ad campaign on a single service, should she stick to keywords specific to that topic only, or should she also include keywords related to her organization?
Oh, sorry. Say that one more time.
Shelby, if she does an ad campaign on a single service, should she stick to keywords specific to that topic only, or should she also include keywords related to her organization?
Yes. Yeah, you should focus. If your campaign is around a specific service, then you want to make sure that those keywords are focused on that service. Really what you want to do is, in each campaign or each ad group, if you're driving traffic to a specific page on your website, then whatever that topic is on that page of your website, you want to make sure you stay like laser focused with your keywords on that specific topic. So you don't talk, in your keywords, you don't talk about other parts of your organization, just on there. That's the way to really get the spend up an effective ads campaign. You want to be laser focused on each of those. So, yep.
A lot of people, I think that this is probably a really important one to hit, because I know we had a lot of people questioning this. I feel like at first you said blogs aren't everything. Like, you don't have to write a blog. We had a lot of people asking, if they don't have a blog, what exactly can they do outside of that?
Yeah. So if you don't have a blog, you want to make sure, so it's going to depend on the organization in terms of how much content you already have on your website. For us, it's so important to have valuable content on your website. And before we go into that, for us, we've had clients come to us, potential clients asking, hey, can you do our ads management? We just can't handle this. And we'll look over their website, and if they don't have content on their website, we'll tell them, you either need to get more content on your website, or it's not going to be a good relationship between us, if you don't do that, because it's going to be a lose-lose on both sides. If you don't have content to promote, you're not going to be able to maximize the grant, whether you're doing it, whether we're doing it. This is where I would say, if you don't have a blog, I do recommend a blog so you can follow some of these steps. But if you don't have the capability to do that, or if you don't have, there's not an agency like Click Nonprofit that can actually create those blogs for you, then what I would say is make sure that when you drive traffic to each page on your website, back to this point of being laser focused, is sometimes nonprofits will try to drive all the traffic to their home page. But the problem is that you're trying to drive traffic to the home page on multiple different topics. And when Google sees that home page, or even a user sees your home page and they see lots of topics, they get confused. Like if they, back to the adoption agency, if someone types in how to adopt a child and they land on your home page where it's just an adoption agency, they're like, oh, that didn't answer my question. I was asking, like, what are the steps to actually do that? So this is where, whether, you know, if you have like a programs page, make sure you drive people to a specific program, like to that specific page for that program, with keywords related to that program and only related to that program.
Okay. Sam asked, would you want to exclude keywords that have an easier organic score? No,
that you definitely don't have to exclude those. If you are like that youth ministry organization example from before, if you have a post, you know, if you have a page that's already showing up, you know, on the very top of Google in the first, second, or third result organically, then yeah, you can exclude that. You don't need to create ads for that if you're already getting tons of traffic on that. But if it has if it's easy to rank for organically, that's actually a really good thing. So that's where I would say absolutely create valuable content for that and create ads around it, because eventually as you get more and more people to show up onto that page with the Google grant, that'll kind of help get people to start sharing that page on social media and so on, to the point where it will show up organically on Google, especially if there's low competition organically.
Mm-hmm. A couple more questions about setting up the ads in particular. In addition to keywords, what else is ideal for an ad title? For example, should you do something like top 10 reasons why, or best, or 2022?
Yeah. So you want to balance both. So you want to make sure it's something that will get someone to click, right? So you want something where it's engaging, right? For someone sees it on Google and they say, oh, that's interesting, I want to click that. So you want to be thinking that in the back of your head. But then on top of that, with Google Ads specifically, it's not just clickbait like you see on social media. It actually, the title of that ad needs to have the keywords that you're targeting. So that's one of the most important parts, is make sure that you know, that keyword is in the title of the ad, and that keyword is also in the description underneath of that ad as well.
Okay. Some people were asking, Jesse and Katerina, I think if you're still on, do you have to use the full $10,000? Is there a penalty if you don't use it? Or what happens if you spend more or less?
Yep, you don't have to spend the full 10,000. That's you can spend up to that 10,000. You won't be able to spend beyond that 10,000. So basically, you don't have to worry about that. It's not like you're going to owe Google if you spend beyond it. Google has a cap, and you basically have $329 a day to spend. And if you hit that $329 a day, your ads will pause and then they'll start back up the next day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sandy wants to know if you can use it to hire staff.
Yeah, definitely. So if, you know, again, hiring staff is something that's going to help your nonprofit, right? It's going to benefit your nonprofit. So you can absolutely do that to hire staff.
Mm-hmm. Sally, you asked why we were also paying $1,000 a month for a non-grant Google ad. Is there any reason why that would have been necessary? And I will assume, Judson, it might have been because you said there's a maximum per day.
Yeah. So if someone's spending in a normal Google Ads account, where they're spending their own money, that's what they're doing, right?
It sounds like.
Yeah. So in that case, yeah, some nonprofits decide to do that. So they'll use the Google Ad grant. And once they've hit that max spend on the Google ad grant. If they want to continue to spend with normal Google ads, definitely, you can definitely have a normal Google ads account to spend with. That it's actually something that we would recommend if there's a certain keyword out there that you can't rank for with the Google grant. Normal Google ads can actually rank a little bit higher than grantee ads, which Google has to do because they can't make grantees be showing on top of people spending their own money. So if there's a really competitive keyword that you want to rank for, then that might be a case where you might end up wanting to use a standard Google Ads account.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't rank the grant. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like we are at the end of our time today, and we want to honor all of your guys' busy schedules. So that's all of the questions that we're going to be able to get through today. Judson, there are a lot of other questions on there. If we didn't get to your question, guys, please feel free to reach out to us at info@nonprofithub.org. Judson, do you want to share your contact information really quick?
Yeah,
too,
absolutely. So if you send an email at, you can do judson@clicknonprofit.com is my email. Feel free, if you have those additional questions, I would say for those additional questions, probably one of the easiest ways to do that is if you go to clicknonprofit.com and you just go to the contact page, you send your list of questions there, and either myself or someone on our team will get back to you on answers to those questions. So.
Okay. Thank you so much, Judson. And thank you to everyone else who joined us for today's session. Keep your eye out. You'll get the full recording and a full list of resources from Click Nonprofit. And please enjoy your day, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.